Plymouth, at just 3 degrees Celsius this morning, colder than Aberdeen sitting at 5 degrees. Is your area about to face yet another deluge after what has been the wettest start to any year since records began? Right now, the Met Office has amber warnings active for Devon, Cornwall and parts of Wales, affecting over 4 million people across the southwest. In the next 2 minutes, I'll give you exact timings for when the heaviest rainfall hits London, Manchester, Birmingham, Glasgow, Cardiff and Belfast. But first, drop your location in the comments right now, and I'll give you a personalised forecast in tomorrow's video based on the latest model runs. London, you're looking at persistent rain through Tuesday afternoon, clearing by Wednesday morning around 9 o'clock. Manchester, drier conditions holding until late Tuesday evening, then rain arrives overnight. Birmingham sits right on the boundary, showers Tuesday afternoon becoming heavier by evening. Glasgow, you've got the best of it with sunny spells through Tuesday, clouds increasing Wednesday. Cardiff, I'm afraid the rain continues through Tuesday night, easing Wednesday lunchtime. Belfast, rather mixed with showers Tuesday afternoon, drier interludes between. Now here is what is particularly concerning about this weather pattern. We've got an Atlantic depression sitting just off the southwest, and it is barely moving. The jet stream has essentially stalled, which means this low pressure system is going to keep pumping moisture across southern Britain for at least another 36 hours. The Met Office Unified model is showing rainfall totals that could reach 70 to 80 millimetres across Devon and Cornwall by Wednesday morning. The European model suggests slightly less, perhaps 60 millimetres, but either way, that is substantial rainfall on already saturated ground. For those of you in the southwest, you've had over 475 millimetres in January alone in some areas. That is extraordinary. The ground simply cannot absorb any more water. Rivers are already at capacity, flood defences are being tested, and with this additional rainfall, we are looking at a very difficult 24 to 36 hours ahead. But here is what nobody is talking about. Whilst everyone is focused on the rainfall, there is a secondary concern developing for later in the week. The pressure gradient is going to tighten significantly, and we could be looking at wind speeds picking up across western coastal areas. I'll come back to this in a moment, but keep it in mind if you are in Cornwall, West Wales, or the Western Isles. Let me work through more locations now, and I'm going to vary this because your situation is different depending on where you are. Newcastle, you are sitting under cloud through Tuesday, occasional drizzle, nothing particularly heavy, temperatures around 7 degrees Celsius. Leeds and Sheffield, similar story, grey conditions, light rain at times. Feeling rather cold in the breeze at 6 degrees. Liverpool, you will see rain arriving Tuesday evening. Heaviest overnight into Wednesday, could be quite persistent for a time. Bristol, you are right in the firing line, unfortunately. Rain through Tuesday afternoon and evening, 60 millimetres possible by Wednesday morning, so do keep an eye on local conditions. Exeter and Plymouth, as I mentioned earlier, this is where the heaviest rain is focused. Amber warning remains in place, travel disruption likely. Some roads may become impassable. Now for Scotland, Edinburgh, you've actually got decent conditions through Tuesday, some bright spells, cloud increasing Tuesday night. Aberdeen and Inverness, reasonably pleasant for February with temperatures reaching 6 or 7 degrees during the day. Wait until you see what is developing for the weekend though. The models are currently showing something rather interesting happening Friday into Saturday, and this is where that model tension I mentioned earlier becomes really important. Cardiff and Swansea, persistent rain Tuesday, heavy at times, easing Wednesday evening. Bangor further north in Wales, rain arriving Tuesday evening into the night. Belfast and Derry in Northern Ireland, you've got a mixed bag through Tuesday and Wednesday. Showers, some heavy interspersed with brighter intervals. It is that typical Atlantic weather pattern where nothing settles for very long. Temperatures around 8 degrees, feeling cooler in the brisk westerly wind. Southampton and Portsmouth, rain arrives Tuesday afternoon, persistent through the evening and overnight. Brighton and the Sussex coast, similar timing, could see 40 to 50 millimetres by Wednesday morning. Dover and the Kent coast, you are slightly better off, lighter rain, arriving later Tuesday evening. Oxford and Cambridge, both looking at cloudy conditions Tuesday, some rain developing during the afternoon, 20 to 30 millimetres overnight. Nottingham and Leicester, you are in a transition zone, rather variable through Tuesday. York, grey conditions, some drizzle at times, improving Wednesday. Scarborough on the east coast, you might see some brighter spells Tuesday afternoon. Now, I mentioned earlier about checking back tomorrow, and this is genuinely important. The overnight model runs tonight will give us much better clarity on what is happening Friday and Saturday. Currently, there is about an 80-kilometre difference between where the Met Office and European models are placing a potential low-pressure system. That 80 kilometres makes all the difference between a wet weekend in the southeast or a wet weekend across the Midlands and north. Blackpool and the Lancashire coast, breezy conditions Tuesday, showers at times, some heavy with wind off the Irish Sea. The lakes will see those showers turning to snow on highest peaks above 600 metres. For East Anglia, Norwich and the coast, you are in a relatively sheltered position. Mostly cloudy through Tuesday and Wednesday, rainfall below 20 millimetres. Penzance and Land End, right at the tip of Cornwall, you are exposed to the full force of this Atlantic system. Wind gusts could reach 80 kilometres per hour Tuesday night, combined with heavy rain, going to make conditions rather unpleasant. Take care if you're travelling in that area, the Channel Islands, Jersey and Guernsey. You're going to see similar conditions to Cornwall, heavy rain Tuesday into Wednesday, strong winds, rough seas. Not ideal at all. Right then, let me address what's happening with that jet stream pattern, because this explains why we restuck in this repetitive weather. The jet stream has developed what we call a blocking pattern. There is high pressure over Scandinavia that simply isn't moving, and this is forcing low pressure systems to track repeatedly across the UK rather than moving away quickly to the northeast as they normally would. This is why it feels like Groundhog Day with the weather. Same forecast, different day. The models suggest this pattern might start to break down by the weekend, but there is uncertainty about exactly when and how. The Met Office ensemble shows a range of solutions, some breaking down Friday, others not until Sunday or Monday. Here is the one thing that concerns me most about this forecast. If that Scandinavian high does start to retrograde westward, which some model members are suggesting, we could actually see cold air drag down from the Arctic. Now, this might sound appealing if you are sick of the rain, and believe me, I know many of you are, but cold air over saturated ground with ongoing precipitation could mean snow, potentially at quite low levels. And the UK doesn't handle snow well, particularly in southern areas. I need to be clear, though, this is still 5 or 6 days out, and the uncertainty is considerable, but it's worth keeping an eye on, especially if you got travel plans for next weekend. Returning to Scotland's west coast, Oban, Fort William, you are looking at showers Tuesday and Wednesday, some of these heavy with hail mixed in, given the cold air aloft. The wind will make it feel considerably colder than the actual temperature of 5 or 6 degrees. Glencoe could see snow showers at summit level. The Hebrides, Skye and the Outer Hebrides, blustery showers continuing, some wintry on the hills. Orkney and Shetland, you are under a cold northerly flow, frequent showers, some of these will be sleety, temperatures struggling to reach 4 degrees. Hang on, let me just clarify the timing for the Midlands because I want to be more precise. Coventry, Wolverhampton, Stoke-on-Trent, you are looking at rain developing Tuesday afternoon, becoming more persistent Tuesday evening and overnight. By Wednesday morning, most of this should be clearing away eastward, leaving a brighter day Wednesday with just isolated showers. Derby and Burton-upon-Trent, similar pattern, but you might see the rain arriving slightly earlier mid-afternoon Tuesday. Rainfall totals around 30 to 40 millimetres, which on saturated ground could cause some localised surface water issues. Now, about those comments. If you haven't already, do drop your location below. Tomorrow's video will have specific forecasts based on where you are, and with this evolving situation, the updates are genuinely valuable. I am particularly interested in hearing from those of you in flood-affected areas, how you recoping, what the situation is like on the ground. Chester and Wrexham, straddling the England-Wales border, rain Tuesday afternoon and evening, 40 to 50 millimetres overnight, clearing Wednesday morning. Shrewsbury, similar story, 35 to 40 millimetres. Gloucestershire, Cheltenham, Gloucester, persistent rain Tuesday afternoon through Wednesday morning. Bath, 60 millimetres possible by Wednesday morning. Reading and the Thames Valley, rain developing Tuesday afternoon, persistent overnight. Canterbury and Maidstone in Kent, rain arriving later Tuesday evening, 25 to 30 millimetres by Wednesday morning. The Isle of Wight, rain moving through Tuesday afternoon and evening, clearing overnight. Now, let me talk about Thursday and Friday, because this is where the forecast becomes really interesting. The current thinking is we'll see a brief ridge of high pressure Thursday, giving most areas a much needed dry day. Temperatures might reach 10 or 11 degrees in the south, perhaps 9 in the north. Make the most of this break. But here's where it gets complicated. Both the Met Office and European models show another low pressure system approaching from the Atlantic Friday. However, the exact track is still uncertain. The Met Office model takes it slightly further north, which would mean heavier rain for Scotland and Northern Ireland Friday into Saturday. The European model keeps it further south, bringing more rainfall to England and Wales. This 50-mile difference in track makes an enormous difference to who gets the heaviest rainfall. Tomorrow morning, S model runs should start to converge on a solution, and that's why I'm asking you to check back tomorrow. This isn't to just meteorologist speak, this genuinely matters for your weekend plans. But here's where it gets complicated. Both the Met Office and European models show another low-pressure system approaching from the Atlantic Friday. However, the exact track is still uncertain. The Met Office model takes it slightly further north, which would mean heavier rain for Scotland and Northern Ireland Friday into Saturday. The European model keeps it further south, bringing more rainfall to England and Wales. This 50-mile difference in track makes an enormous difference to who gets the heaviest rainfall. Tomorrow morning, S model runs should start to converge on a solution, and that's why I'm asking you to check back tomorrow. This isn't just meteorologist speak. This genuinely matters for your weekend plans. Actually, I should mention wind speeds again because I glossed over this earlier. Western coastal areas, particularly Cornwall, Pembrokeshire and Western Wales, you could see wind gusts reaching 90 to 100 kilometres per hour Friday night if the low track's close to the UK. That's getting into the territory where the Met Office might issue wind warnings. Exposed routes could see disruption, ferries might be cancelled, and coastal areas should be prepared for rough seas. Bournemouth and Poole, rain Tuesday afternoon and evening, clearing Wednesday, Thursday, looking better with sunshine possible. Ipswich and Colchester and East Anglia, some rain Tuesday night into Wednesday, 15 to 20 millimetres. Lincoln and the Lincolnshire Fens, cloudy Tuesday, rain evening into overnight, clearing Wednesday. Hull and Grimsby, grey and damp Tuesday, improving Wednesday. Middlesbrough and Teesside, similar to the northeast, cloudy and damp Tuesday, brighter Wednesday. Carlisle and the Northern Lake District, showers Tuesday and Wednesday, wintry on highest peaks, Thursday drier. Dumfries in southern Scotland, blustery showers continuing cold at 5 or 6 degrees. Stirling and the central belt, decent conditions, Tuesday, cloudier Wednesday, Thursday, looking good with winter sunshine. Right, let me bring all this together because there is quite a lot happening. The dominant feature is this slow-moving Atlantic depression bringing persistent rainfall to southern Britain, particularly the southwest. This continues through Tuesday night before finally moving away Wednesday. Thursday brings a brief improvement under a ridge of high pressure. Friday, uncertainty increases as another low approaches, but we'll have much better clarity on the track by tomorrow. The key message is if you are in the southwest, Wales or southern England, Tuesday and Tuesday night are going to be particularly wet. Travel disruption is likely, flooding remains a significant concern, rail services may be affected, and some roads could become impassable. Please monitor Met Office warnings and local authority advice closely. For Scotland and Northern Ireland, you are actually in a better position with this system, more showery conditions rather than persistent rain. But keep an eye on Friday's developments, because that could change the picture for the weekend. There is one detail about next week that I haven't mentioned yet, and it is potentially quite significant. Some of the longer range models are hinting at a possible pattern change around Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. That Scandinavian high I mentioned earlier might finally start to shift, and if it does, we could see something more settled developing. However, it's early days for that forecast, and I wouldn't make firm plans based on model output beyond 7 days. Tomorrow, video will have updates on that Friday system, more precise timing for the weekend, and I'll start looking ahead to next week as potential pattern change. If you left your location in the comments, I'll give you specific information for your area. I know this has been a relentless winter for rainfall, particularly if you are in Western Britain. The statistics are genuinely remarkable. Some areas have had over 150% of their normal winter rainfall already, and we are only in early February. It is testing infrastructure, it is testing patience, and I don't want to minimize how difficult this has been for people dealing with flooding or constant grey skies. Thursday's brief improvement will be welcome. Make the most of it if you can. Get outside if the weather allows. It'll lift spirits having a break from the rain. Do check back tomorrow around this same time, 9 o'clock in the morning, for the updated forecast with that crucial information about Friday and the weekend. The overnight model runs tonight will be particularly important. Thank you for watching. Thank you for the comments. I do read them all, and I appreciate you taking the time. Stay safe out there, particularly if you are in affected areas, and I'll see you tomorrow with